Hey, I'm making this video as a sort of summary for how dodges in Vermintide 2 work, and should be particularly useful for people coming from Darktide, where the dodging is way more intuitive. It has iframes, it has more things going for you to make it easier for you than Vermintide 2 does. So let's get into it. In Vermintide 2, your dodge has one primary purpose, right? Well, to not get hit, but how it does that is it breaks enemy tracking. In Vermintide 2, enemies have completely perfect tracking, right? If I run around this guy, he did an overhead, you see him turn towards me the whole time. There's no getting away from these attacks by just running like that. You have to dodge to break their tracking. It's also important to note that when you dodge to break tracking on enemies, you're going to dodge as early as you can into their animation, right? There's no iframes in Vermintide 2. You're not trying to dodge at the last second like you would in a Souls game or Darktide. Your goal is to just break the tracking. So if I spawn that Storm Vermin again, I want to dodge. As soon as I see him moving, I can dodge and I'll be safe, right? As soon as I see him winding up an attack, I just hit the button. Boom. I can dodge any way I want. I can dodge backwards. I can dodge. Okay. I can dodge horizontally or diagonally, I guess. Horizontally as well. Both ways diagonally work. You can dodge whichever way you want, as long as you're dodging it early. If you try to dodge late, right, here's what happens. I got hit. I dodged a little early there. Got hit, dodged the last second. That was an overhead too. Dodged early there. So again, the goal is to dodge within the first, honestly, it's pretty generous. First like 80% of enemies attack, and you'll be fine. Now there's a funny caveat about what I said earlier about not being able to kind of run around attacks. What I said is still technically true. The enemies have perfect tracking. However, if they do their stationary attacks, which I'll get into a bit later what I mean by that, you can run out of the distance. The enemy still perfectly tracks where you are. They're just not moving, so they can't actually hit you when you just run away, right? So that begs the question, well, why don't you just continue to run away, right? Well, enemies have, as you see there, a lunging attack to stop you from being able to do this, as perfect tracking as well. And he's moving forward, so you can't space him. The enemies will continue to chase you, right? So that lunging attack is specifically why back dodges and back diagonal dodges are kind of weaker than side dodges. Now, to give a little bit more context to what I mean by back dodges are worse than side dodges, or side dodges being better, is that lunging attack basically can't be broken. You can't break the tracking with away dodges, diagonal dodges or back dodges. There I dodge a little bit more sideways. But if I dodge, okay, if I dodge away, I'd say 90% of the time, you can't get away from that. No matter if I dodge later or earlier, you just can't get away from this attack, right? I dodge early there, he still follows me through. I dodge early. Let me do a late dodge. It doesn't matter. You can't get away. Diagonal dodges are included in this, right? He still tracks really well. Again, that time I did more of a side dodge. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, I guess, next is I'm saying side dodge, diagonal dodge, back dodge, etc. I don't mean literally the keys you're inputting, like if you do a dodge or a D dodge with a WASD system. I mean in relation to where the enemy is. A side dodge is perpendicular to them, and diagonal dodges are like 60 degrees, all that fun stuff. That's what's important. What I mean by that is if I get this guy to do lunging attacks at me, but I back dodge or I hold S, but I do it perpendicular to him, that counts as a side dodge, right? So your dodges are in relation to the enemies you're looking at. Doesn't seem that important, but it can be if there's a bunch of enemies coming at you from different directions and you do a side dodge and one still tracks you. Well, was he coming at an angle to you from like the left or right, where your side dodge was more like a back dodge to him, so he got perfect tracking? It's important to know, right? So what that means is side dodges are your best friend. Outside of a few specific enemies in this game, like Ragers, the Plague Monks, and bosses, where back dodging is in a lot of cases more effective, most enemies in the game you want to side dodge, because it's basically full invulnerability for you, or full tracking breaking, whatever you want to call it. It is the most safe option. So if you're fighting a pack of enemies, your plan of action is to skirt around the edges, whether it's elites or a bunch of Skaven slaves or a horde, doesn't matter. Your goal is to side dodge around them while keeping them in front of you, and that's how you dodge their attacks. That's how you don't take hits. Whenever you run out of dodges, right? You can block, do a push if it's a horde, and that'll stagger everything in front of you, give you a break. Or if you have like a high stagger weapon or a high cleave weapon, you can just swing that once and it'll do the same thing as a push will without breaking your stamina or using your stamina. So as an example, I'm going to fight like a bunch of storm vermin and kind of show you the thought process, right? Let's get like 5 storm vermin. The goal is to spam side dodge. You want to spam side dodge. When your dodges run out, you go for a parry or a push or block, whatever, and then you go back to it. This is the safest way to fight a group of any type of enemy in the game. Fight more. You want to start spamming your side dodges, go for your push, and then you keep doing this. Ooh, got hit by an overhead there, ran out of stamina. There we go. This is your safest way to do it. Now, I took a hit there, I think. It's not perfect, right? There's against a horde of elites, ideally you don't have to fight them in melee. However, this is your safest way to do it. You want to skirt the edge and go for attacks. So let's go a bunch of gores, right? When fighting a bunch of gores, go for pushes. Get whenever you have dodges up, dodge and go for attacks, go for a push, and then repeat, right? This is your safest way to fight a bunch of enemies. You see, I got hit by that gore there, and what's funny about that is I did a side dodge, but he came in at an angle to where I believe I didn't break his tracking because of the dodge direction. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. Side dodges are your best friend in Vermintide. Use them and spam them as much as you can, and that's how you avoid taking hits. As a final note, I kind of want to say this isn't going to make you invulnerable, right? Side dodges are not completely perfect because there's a delay between your dodges. Let's say you dodge one enemy and while you're dodging another enemy starts his attack, your dodge will not break his tracking. So let's say you get really unlucky and you dodge one attack, but an enemy starts their attack as soon as you started your dodge, so then you probably won't even have enough time to get another dodge off before he's hitting you, right? So this is not a like foolproof I can't take damage strategy. But it's very important to know because it's the safest option when you're out in the open against a bunch of elites. There's a lot more nuances to not taking hits, like using terrain to your advantage, using choke points, using your push, your shove, your weapon combos. Maybe your weapon has stagger attacks like the bill hook. There's a whole lot more nuance to this, right? I'm just trying to solve or simplify the dodge situation, what you should be doing and how you should be dodging. So anyways, thank you.